Welcome to Bedtime Sweet Dream Stories. Tonight, let your worries drift away as you listen to this gentle, soothing bedtime story crafted to help you fall asleep. Whether you struggle with insomnia, anxiety, or simply need a peaceful wind down, this calming sleep story is your nightly escape. So snuggle up, close your eyes, and fall asleep into a dream. Tonight, I want to take you somewhere peaceful and quiet, to a place where the world stops buzzing and your thoughts can breathe, where the night sky was sprinkled with stars so clear that every star looks close enough to reach. It's a remote 14-mile long barrier island off of Florida's Atlantic coast, Anastasia Island. It's the home of St. Augustine's Lighthouse. I arrived here by boat to help the lighthouse keeper's wife, a middle-aged woman who had lived on the island for years, working side by side with her husband. She tended to the lighthouse around the clock, polishing the lantern windows, ringing the fog bell, keeping meticulous records, and caring for their garden that provided nearly all of their food. But recently, everything changed. Her husband, the keeper, passed away suddenly from a heart attack. No warning, no time to prepare, left her carrying the weight of the lighthouse alone. It was close to the evening hours when I arrived. It had just stopped raining. The lighthouse keeper's wife, an older lady who looked to be about 60, was standing near the shoreline waiting for me. She was wearing a tattered dark gray clothing. Her hands were wrinkled and rough, likely because of all the years of hard work maintaining that lighthouse. She was kind and helpful. She helped me carry my things up the hill to a small shed like building she had converted into a makeshift living space for me. After putting my things down, she gave me a quick tour of the island. It was getting dark, but there wasn't much to see. The lighthouse itself was strikingly beautiful. It was a 165-foot tower painted in a spiral black and white pattern. The lantern room at the top was painted bright red. The keeper's house was built near the lighthouse because the keepers might be called on at any time. It was an older wood frame home that was built in 1876, but it was well kept. Along the side of her house there was a large fenced area, her garden. She had a crop of tomatoes, okras, peppers, sweet potatoes, and fresh mint. Behind the garden was a large shed used for tools and supplies needed to keep the place up and running, and alongside next to it was a small shed-like building that was where I would be staying. She proudly talked about all the work she and her husband had done making this island to be their home. She spoke of her husband in the present sense, as if his spirit was still right beside her. I was surprised at how remote the land was. In many places it looked untouched, almost ancient. I had read about it, about how Anastasia's island shoreline is constantly changing because of the strong ocean currents, but seeing it in person was different. Beyond the sand dunes, the island rises into a thick, lush forest, dense with live oaks and palmettos fanning out in deep green layers with Spanish moss hanging on it like soft gray curtains. On the other side, the land opens into saltwater marshes with wild tall grass swaying in the breeze. It was so much more beautiful than I ever expected. I was unsure about how long I'd be stationed here to help. The lighthouse keeper's job could be as long as 24 hours, and after seeing the land, it made me realize that it would be almost impossible for her to stay here alone at her age while doing all the work just to keep up with the lighthouse and everything else she would need to do to survive. I could see storm clouds forming in the distance. Miss Wiki asked me to meet her back at the lighthouse to prepare for a storm just in case. Mrs. Wiki is not her real name. Lighthouse keepers were commonly nicknamed Wikis because their most important daily chore was trimming the lamp wicks every few hours to prevent smoke from dimming the glass lens. Her husband was Wiki, but he always adoringly called her Mrs. Wiki. She was waiting for me inside the door of the lighthouse at the bottom of the stairs. I had read about lighthouses, but this was the first time inside one. It was dark and dimly lit. Mrs. Wiki headed up the stairs with ease, a narrow black cast iron spiral staircase. The stairs spiraled upward with 219 spiral steps to the top. It had 8 landings where you could stop and rest. It was my first time climbing these stairs, and I was a bit nervous, so I counted as I climbed. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. My hand trailed along the cold curve of the wall. Then it was time for Miss Wiki to light the lamp. It started off with a small glow, warm and orange deep into the thick glass. It slowly It slowly grows, catching the layered lens until the light is pouring out in every direction, sweeping around the room, over the ocean and the water, around the room and back again, around and around and around and back again. I could feel the rhythm of it more than I saw it, a slow, unhurried sweep, dark, light, dark, light, like the ocean below was breathing. Mrs. Wiki settled into an old wooden chair beside the window and pulled a blanket up over her knees. She picked up a book that clearly looks like she'd read it many times before. She began reading it slowly. There was no need to finish it tonight. She has all the nights there. I leaned against the cool window and watched the light sweep past the illuminating rocks below for just a moment, and then releasing them back into the dark, around and back again. The rain started up again very softly, just a whisper against the glass, nothing that needs attention, nothing that needs anything at all. My eyes were beginning to grow heavy now. The lamps turn, the sea breathes, and somewhere far away the world keeps its own rhythm, patient and unbothered, the way it has for longer than anyone can remember. I don't have time. I don't have to climb back down tonight. I don't have to do anything at all. Just let the light turn around and back again, around, and look, you're already asleep. Imagine the moonlight and a faraway star while you drift off into a dream, no matter where you are. You are safe. You are loved. Find me here tomorrow night for another bedtime story. Sweet dreams. Thank you for watching episode 1 of my new series, The Lighthouse. If you enjoy this type of content, please comment below. Thank you all for watching. Sweet dreams.